If you want to use cool Google fonts like this in your Quarto documents and you want to be compliant with GDPR, then you cannot import the fonts like this. That's because this makes a call to the Google API and this may not be compliant with GDPR. So instead of calling the Google API, you will have to import the fonts yourself. And to figure out what you need to do, you can actually call this link in your web browser and you will see that it just returns a bunch of CSS code that you will have to write manually. And more importantly, you will also have to download the fonts locally so that you can add the fonts using a source path yourself. But doing all of that is way too tedious. We can use the gfonts-r package to help us with setting up most of the code. But the first thing you need to do is to get rid of the import command that targets the Google API. Instead, you call setup fonts from the gfonts package that downloads your desired font and puts all of the files to the same directory where your Quarto file is. You have to make sure that this path exists, otherwise gfonts will complain. And if you get a not found error, then make sure that your font ID is spelled properly. Once you've done that, a lot of files are generated for you. Now if you check the files pane in RStudio, then you will find a lot of fonts in the new fonts directory. And you will also find a CSS directory that will give you a CSS file that you need to actually load your font. The easiest way to import this in your Quarto file is to just go to its YAML header and import the CSS file there. But here's where things get tricky. If you want to import this, Quarto will complain, just like with SCSS files, that there is a boundary layer missing. So you have to manually adjust your CSS file by throwing this line in there. No big deal, you just have to remember this. So here goes another attempt that ends in another error. Now before I tell you the secrets to get rid of these error messages, let me invite you to hit that like button, because this will help me to create more videos and to figure out if you actually like the stuff I'm creating. So hit that like button, thanks for that, and let's get back to the video. So the reason for the error is that Quarto cannot find the font files in the specified directory. That's because the CSS file mimics the file directory that gfonts uses, but this is not what Quarto uses. So the first thing you want to do in the CSS file is to get rid of this ... Just search for these dots and replace them with nothing. Now if you save this and re-render the Quarto file, then you will notice that, okay, it is looking in the correct directory now, but it is looking for some weird files that are not among the fonts that were downloaded. I have no idea why this is happening, but since gfonts is already doing most of the heavy lifting for us, no biggie to do a little bit of tweaking. We just have to figure out where these wrong files are loaded and get rid of those calls. Once you've done this and we re-render this, you will get yet another error message because it says this file is supposed to be called .svg followed by some weird stuff. But if you look into the fonts directory, you will actually see that the corresponding files are just called .svg. Once again, I have no clue why gfonts generates this output, but we can get rid of it by searching and replacing the weird stuff with nothing. And now, once you've saved and re-rendered everything, you are finally done. Your Quarto file looks nice and you can publish it wherever you want. And the best thing is, you can be sure that whoever is looking at your cool Quarto file sees it exactly like this with your cool font imported, even if that person doesn't have that font installed. Bam! That's how you comply with GDPR while also letting gfonts do most of the heavy lifting. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time.